Many, many years ago, we didn't have the time to take things slow. Running round in stupid circles, and we didn't know where we could go. We were young, we were not afraid to cross the borders. Yeah, we were young and dumb. Whenever we feel down and out, whenever we are filled with doubt, together we will work things out. In those times when you're down and out. Many, many years ago, we traveled many nights along the road. We took our turns and made our way through dark and dusty mountains made of coal. We were young, we were not afraid to cross the borders. We were young and dumb. Whenever we feel down and out, whenever we are filled with doubt, together we will work things out. In those times when you're down and out. All the crazy time I spent has led me to a crossroad. Now I know that I was lost and I was wrong. Now I have finally found the right way home. We were young and dumb. Whenever we feel down and out, whenever we are filled with doubt, together we will work things out. In those times when you're down and out.
Good evening, everyone, and good afternoon. Hello. Thank you so much for joining our latest in our Digital Doors webinar series. This session is hosted by MasterCard and some of our fantastic partners, and we're focused today on accepting payments in an on-the-go world, something that we know very well, but we all know that you as small business owners are challenged every day with. So hoping we can help there. Before we get started, just wanted to say thank you to everyone attending. We know how busy small business owners are in your day-to-day business operations, as well as the practitioners, our partners from across communities in the US that are helping to serve small businesses. It's been a while since we've gotten together on this forum. I think many of you were with us in June for a social media marketing session. And so tonight, for those that accompanied us on the Access to Capital panel in May, we have a great panel assembled that is going to be moderated by our own lead for the North American Small Business segment, Ginger Siegel. She's my boss, and she's very knowledgeable in all things small business. And then we have partners that help small businesses in different ways and can talk about their perspective on the digital payments space. I did want to share just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. As is typical, there are too many of you to have everyone on screen. We would love to see your lovely faces, but do communicate with us via the chat that you see in the attendee hub, and we'll be taking Q&A toward the end of the session. So please submit your questions and I'll queue those up for the panelists when we're toward the end. We're also going to share in the chat a link to our Digital Doors website, which again has many, many useful resources and partners for you to help get digital. So why are we doing this? Again, at MasterCard, we understand that our small businesses are the backbone of our communities and really driving the economy. But we know you can't do it alone. And there are challenges around access to information, the right tools, resources like new networks, new markets, access to capital. And so we know that when you have the data and the resources you need to succeed, that you're going to thrive, and we want to help you to do that. So again, before we dive in on the panel, we have an exciting intro I want to share with you. I'm going to introduce my colleague, Akshay Dugar, who is our North American VP of Payments Acceptance. He knows quite a lot about this space. And again, thank you all so much for continuing to be a part of our small business community. Akshay, take it away.
Thanks, Colleen. Really appreciate it. Hi, everyone. We're very happy you could join us today. My name is, as Colleen mentioned, my name is Akshay Dugar, and I'm the product lead for prepaid and acceptance here in North America. Today, I'm really excited to share a little bit more about Tap on Phone, our exciting new technology that enables you to simply start accepting payments from your phone. To begin with, I'll share a quick video demonstrating what Tap on Phone is and how it works.
Some of the most important businesses are the small ones that support our community, but it can be hard to pay them when many only accept cash. MasterCard is enabling a turnkey, cost-effective solution called Tap on Phone. It allows businesses to accept contactless payments using a device they already own, their smartphone, empowering all businesses to accept digital.
So yeah, I think as I was mentioning, Tap on Phone can simplify your payments experience. One of the reasons why this matters is, businesses are continuing to see an increase in spending when people use cards instead of cash. So a Dun & Bradstreet studies showcased a 12 to 18% increase in spending, and other studies that we've seen, by central banks and others suggest that number can even be higher. The second reason is Americans already use contactless methods. A MasterCard poll suggested that over half the population today already uses contactless. And lastly, as no surprises here, but the vast majority of adults own a smartphone in 2023. Tap on Phone sort of marries these solutions beautifully by enabling you to use your phone to start accepting payments and offer a solution that consumers love through contactless payments and help grow sales in doing so. Tap on Phone is, as we talked about, beneficial for a number of reasons. One, it can enable you to have an on-the-go payment solution. So wherever you are, with your phone in hand, you can set up shop very quickly. You don't need to purchase terminals or wait for anything, but you can just set up shop quickly and expand your business that way. I think it helps you grow sales, whether it's enabling new use cases like curbside checkout, making yourself or each and every employee of yours into a point of sale terminal. And, I think it enables contactless payments, which by default then reduces your checkout lines. It's a hygienic way to pay. It's as reliable and durable as your phone is. So I think those are some of the key benefits we see in this space. Now, with that, let me hand it to Ginger to talk a little bit more about the panel today.
Great. Thank you so much, Akshay, and thank you, Colleen. I am super excited to be spending this time with you today. At MasterCard, we have such a tremendous opportunity to work with great customers and great partners, all with the common goal of building an ecosystem to support all of you. We know that small businesses, to Colleen's point, are the backbone of the economy. Actually, you may not know this, but you all account for 64% of all new job creation. And you have really rebounded since the pandemic. And so I just want to tell you how we are so proud to be a part of your world. And hopefully today we'll share some information that can continue to help you thrive. So we don't do these things alone. I'm super excited to say we have three amazing partners from Square, Hello Alice, and Good Find to talk about a very important topic. And it's not just about card acceptance and Tap on Phone. It's how we can get you your hard-earned money in faster. So first of all, Martine, we're so thrilled to see you from Square, a wonderful partner. And I'm going to let Martine introduce himself, but for everyone, just if you didn't know, Square really helps small businesses process payments both online and in person, and it was one of the first in the mobile payment space. I also want to introduce Sophia from GoodFind, a really amazing partner of ours. GoodFind is a one-stop shop for mobile food vendors dedicated to inclusivity and ensuring vendors feel equipped with the tools they need to run their overall business, including point-of-sale solutions. And last but most certainly not least, we have Kelsey. Kelsey is a tremendous partner from Hello Alice. Hello Alice, if you don't know, is a free platform that's actually designed to support small businesses by providing relevant business solutions and access to a network of over 1 million small business owners. They also provide tremendous funding opportunities and other resources to help small businesses grow sustainably. So Martine, Sophia, Kelsey, welcome. And thank you so much for your partnership here on this really important topic. So I'm going to kind of jump around a bit with everyone. We've got such amazing expertise on the phone. So what I'd like to do is, again, when we think about access to capital and all of you need money, very often small businesses think about borrowing. We know that 82% of small businesses that fail do so because of cash flow issues. But it's not just borrowing. How do we help you, through our partners, get your hard-earned money in faster? So I'd love to really start with Martine here. Martine, would love to hear a little bit about your current role at Square. And when you think about kind of the digital payments landscape, especially since COVID, how do you think about that in relationship to how it can help small businesses move their business forward? So again, welcome, Martine.
Great, thank you for having me. Excited to be here. Big fan of everyone on the call. I'm more excited to hear what you all have to say. So I'll keep it short. So I work on the community affairs team here at Square, where I partner with local and national chambers of commerce, the SBA, SBDCs, and other organizations such as that, who are all in support of small businesses, and we help with trainings on how to take payments, getting online for the first time, and just how to use Square's tools, to maximize your business, whether you're starting your business, already running your business, or need to grow that and adapt your business to the changing landscape. You mentioned, COVID and the changes that it forced, especially with digital payments and folks wanting to really, kind of stay away from cash payments and all the different types of technology that's out there. Tap on phone being one of those that has been greatly adopted, and I know we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Great. No, thanks, Martine. And Square is a great partner and offers such simple, easy, and very fulfilling tools for small businesses. So thanks for being here. So now I'd like to jump over to Sophia. Sophia, I love what you're doing with GoodFind. It is just such a cool organization, and I love the inclusivity part, but perhaps you can tell our audience a little bit about yourself, and then what you do offer mobile vendors, and actually, how did you even go about developing this? Like, where did this idea come from? Because, in terms of you being a small business owner yourself and the development of this, how did this come to be?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Like Martine, I'm really excited to hear what everyone has to say and just excited to be a part of the conversation. I am Sophia, as you said. I like to refer to myself as a recovering privacy attorney. So what I was doing prior to GoodFind had nothing to do with the digital payment space, but I was really inspired by my father, who was a small business owner, and my great-grandmother, who was also a small business owner as I was growing up. And seeing them in that landscape, understanding that they would have really benefited from a technology such as ours. We do, GoodFind itself offers a turnkey solution for mobile entrepreneurs, and payments is a part of that. Tap on Phone is a new offering that we're having, so we'll talk a lot about that here shortly. But we really did want to provide a full scope solution that just made it easy for business owners that don't have a brick and mortar, right? So they're just starting out, it's easier to access capital to kind of own a mobile business. And we wanted to ensure that they would be a credible business at login, right? We take away all the guesswork out of data and payments and operations, and really allow them to do what they do really well, which is sell great product and provide great, customer benefit. So
that's great. And I've got a lot more questions for both you and Martine, so stay tuned, don't go anywhere. So Kelsey, we have been Hello Alice and MasterCard have been great partners for a while. And, although I know so many small businesses that already work with Hello Alice, would love to have you share a little bit about Hello Alice. Its mission is so strong. How was it started? And then kind of your current role there related to the technology piece.
Sure. And thanks again for having me. Great to be here with everyone. So I like to describe Hello Alice as a toolkit for small business growth. And a lot of that came out of the founder's desire to be able to help small businesses find the capital resources and, more importantly, the network to actually succeed in business. And I'm going to go back to something Sophie said about her grandfather. My grandfather also was an entrepreneur. And when I was growing up, one of the things that wasn't always obvious is that access to network was a big gateway to being able to find capital and resources. And that's really one of the things that has driven us here at Hello Alice, is being able to reach out to underserved businesses or businesses that traditionally did not have that access and open the doors to entrepreneurship. And my role here at Hello Alice is really a fun one, because I not only get to develop the tools and processes that we use to help those entrepreneurs, but we also get to do a lot of the educational work and teaching them a lot about what we're going to talk about tonight. Is what is the real key and the real nitty gritty of being able to drive things that make your business work better. And so that's really what we do at Hello Alice. It's been great being here. And the partnership we've been with MasterCard has really helped us drive that mission forward.
No, thanks, Kelsey. And, I love Hello Alice's mission of education, guidance, because one of the things we know is that small businesses don't have chief marketing officers, chief financial officers. They do not have the resources and the infrastructure. So it is our job within this ecosystem to bring everybody together to provide this guidance. For example, to Colleen's point about digital doors, which is a tool that was really brought forth to help bring together all of this great amount of advice and guidance and approach. So I really appreciate that, Kelsey. I do want to make a point that obviously all of you have survived. You are here. And in actuality, I want to give you a stat that almost 3/4 of surveyed small businesses predict that their businesses will grow in 2023. And I love to bring hope to small businesses, because even though there's bumpy roads, we are seeing a very positive road ahead. And in fact, the number of small businesses that are opening has actually almost quadrupled over the last 2 or 3 years. So you should all feel super good about that. So Martine, I wanted to get back to you a little bit and maybe dig in a little bit more. Square plays a super important role in the overall payments ecosystem. And we know that for small businesses, this whole payments is so critical for them to get their money in quicker. And I'd love maybe if you could dig a little bit deeper into Tap on Phone. And, first of all, the growth of this, to your point and to Akshay's point, has been amazing. But why is it such an important technology in this particular economy? Like if you look at the creator economy, if you look at gig workers, and how do you think it could change the experience for small businesses that are actually using it?
That's a fantastic question. And I loved your point a little bit ago about small businesses seeing growth and them growing. We're absolutely seeing that on our end as well. I speak to a lot of businesses in person and in webinars, and a lot of them are wanting to know, how they can better grow their business. They're in growth mode. They're not in, in shelter in place mode anymore. They're looking to expand and grow. So one of the ways Tap on Phone makes that happen is, one of the great problems that they have is there's a lot of people at the checkout, right? There's a lot of people in front of them wanting to purchase their services, their goods, and maybe they've been having just one point of sale system in front of them. Tap on Phone makes it very, very easy to expand that capability to take payments to their employees or their teammates without really any additional hardware. All they need is their phone, and I mean, who doesn't have their phone on them at all times? So just the convenience of being able to add other checkout points. Our goal has always been at Square to make sure that our sellers, no matter where they are or who they are or who they're serving, never miss a sale. And Tap on Phone has really just increased the possibilities of that. Faster checkout with just a tap, helping additional employees accept payments, enabling location freedom, right? They're not having to set up countertop type device at a farmer's market or a pop-up shop. They can easily do it with just their phone that they're already, probably running most of their business on already.
Yeah, no, Martine, that's a super important point, because I think when I talk to small businesses and they hear about new technology, it's scary, right? Like, what's this going to take to set up? And I want to kind of move over to Sophie in terms of that. So when you think about Tap on Phone, and, it was really built for businesses on the go, and, like food trucks and, farmers markets where people are constantly moving around. And I'd love to get your perspective on two things. One is, why are they so important? And then, do you feel that small businesses can look at Tap on Phone in a much simpler way than maybe they do now to increase adoption even more?
Yeah, I mean, I always think about adoption is about education. So moments and webinars such as this and trainings and things like that will help to expand the education of how easy to use Tap on Phone is, and I do think we'll see adoption increase a lot very quickly. Actually, I don't even think it's one of those things that'll take a long time to adopt. I think, like Martine and others have said, everyone has a device, and so it's one of those things that are easier to adopt than technology that makes you acquire additional hardware. And for businesses, specifically for the businesses I serve, mobile entrepreneurs, is a way that we can reduce friction, right? So when you don't have to have yet another thing, another tool, another piece, that you can just sell your goods with something that you have on hand at all times, reducing that friction and ease of use is super important in this industry. And so absolutely, I think it's an important option, and an important step forward in the payment space.
No, and I think another point that you brought up, and I'll expound on it further, is everyone out there has to remember that your customers are changing the way they pay.
Absolutely.
And if you really want to meet the consumer where they are, that is why Tap on Phone and these types of payment acceptance opportunities are so important, so that you can continue to grow your business digitally, even if you're not in, let's say, a typical storefront. So thanks for that, Sophia. It was a fantastic response. So Kelsey, one of the things that intrigues me about Hello Alice is you do a tremendous amount of research on your community. And you are very much in the know and in the head of small businesses in terms of the things that they're most concerned about. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on, where do you think small businesses need the most support? And when you do your research, what are some of the things that you recommend that they begin supporting?
So it's interesting you frame it that way, because a lot of times what we're doing is we're talking to the small business, but at the same time, we're also looking at the consumer market, because we're trying to translate for them, like, what do you actually have to do to win more customers or to grow your business? And in this case, it almost always leads back to revenue growth. And so we spend a lot of time looking at the practices that they have in place to drive sales or to drive their revenue and be profitable. And in this case, what we almost always tell them is there's 3 levers you can pull for revenue growth that's related to the payment world. And that's, you can sell more, you can increase your price, or you increase your number of sales per customer. And in this case, for what they should be implementing, we would lead to them to say, look, if you're able to take payments in more ways, or in more ways that the consumer wants, it's going to allow you to make more sales, or it'll allow you to make more sales per customer. And so we take what we're seeing in both worlds and we sort of meld them into a solution that makes sense for a small business owner. And then we try to make the technology really easy for them to understand as we're teaching them about it.
Yeah, no, Kelsey, you brought up a couple good points, and I want to really quote another stat from this really excellent 2023 Small Business Outlook survey that Hello Alice does. And I promised you some good stats, and I promised you some challenging stats. So here's another challenging stat, but I think it fits very well with what Kelsey's saying. We know that 2/3 of small business owners said that their expenses increased in 2022. Whereas only 30% had an increase in annual revenue. And I think this is speaking exactly to what Kelsey's saying, which is, as a small business owner, it's really all about cash flow. You want to make sure that you get your own money in as quick as possible. And you want to make sure that you're paying on time, but paying in the right time. And so in addition to that, it's very difficult for small businesses to increase their prices at the same level that their prices are being increased. So I think Kelsey's comments on revenue growth are incredibly important. So really thank you for that. So Martine, I wanted to maybe ask you maybe more of a general question. I've heard you speak and you are able to really talk about some pretty complex topics and really make it pretty easy to understand. But when small businesses hear about this payments ecosystem, it's a really big word, meaning that there's a lot involved in it. And if you were going to break apart everything that's going on in the payments industry, what are the specific things that's important for small businesses themselves to know?
Yeah, someone mentioned earlier that, small business, they're wearing many hats, right? They're social media manager, they're their marketing director, they're everything, right? They became an accountant or a baker to open up this business, but didn't think they were going to do all these other things. And learning all of these other pieces, that's why I do the work that I do with the training, is to help them along with that, right? Just one more thing we can do, and just making it, and like Kelsey said, making it just as easy as possible. I was speaking with the beauty salon owner, and her reaction, we were setting up tap to pay on one of our employees' phones, and her reaction was just, it's awesome. Right? Once it's done, its customers love it. Not only easy for the business, but for their customers as well. And she had a staff member, she mentioned, she's like a staff member who was very reluctant to do anything with technology, just 85 years old, and is now taking payments on her phone nonstop. So excited to be, showing that off and letting folks know that, she's a part of the digital world and how much easier that is. And now she's, taking payments. She's a part of that whole ecosystem that you mentioned, is, the payments, knowing what their cash flow is, knowing what their profit and loss is. Now they have their customer data. It's just really all of these pieces that work together, and it just starting with just being able to take that payment and having it recorded and having a history of that, and being able to now have that data to show month over month, year over year, even just from day to day, what your cash flow is looking like, what your sales are looking like, what your inventory is looking at, and how, if you have employees, what their sales are looking like, what their time cards are looking like. So you're wanting to know what your payroll situation is going to be like. So all of that just kind of threads into that one ecosystem that a business owner has to navigate. And hopefully, they're all watching this and learning from all 3 of us, and how much easier it can be, and that we're all here to support them and help them in any way we can.
No, that's great. And Martine, something that you said that I think, is super important is really this concept of small businesses don't get into business to do accounting and books and deal with payments. Small businesses, for the most part, get into business to serve their passion. And it reminds me of a great book that I'll recommend to everyone on the call today. It's called The E-Myth. And it's a fantastic book that talks about the fact that a baker didn't get into business to not bake. They got into business to bake, and a plastics person got into business because they love the product. So I think it's important to understand that what the E-Myth talks about is all the other stuff you have to do. And something that Martine talked about that's very important is look at your data. We all every day get very caught up in what we're doing, and as many of you do in running your business. But something to remember is good data can help you make better decisions tomorrow. It might change the way you're doing something. It might keep you doing the same thing. But the kind of data that you get by being a part of this kind of payments ecosystem is really super important. So thanks so much for that, Martine. So Sophia, you talk to so many business owners, and what I'm really curious about is what are the questions you get the most, from these folks? Because I find those things fascinating, but would love to get your perspective on questions you get the most. And then, is there a question that you wish someone would have asked you that they didn't?
I don't think there's any question that I wish someone would ask me that they don't. My business owners are super inquisitive. They ask every question. Sometimes they surprise me with the questions that they ask. And so I'm always getting, this really great in-depth questions. A lot of the questions that we get, of course, are about our system and how easy it is to use, because our customers are really looking for specificity in the space. They're looking for something that's built for them, that really speaks to their needs and with their experience from day to day, especially because our businesses move quite a lot. And so that's the question that I get the most, like, if I'm here, what does this look like? Or if I'm there, what does this look like? And how do I leverage the data? How quickly will I get paid? Which is all instant is always the answer if they need it to be. And so, the questions like that, right? We are traditionally looking at businesses who used to deal in cash. And what I like to always say is that cash, while it feels easy, cash is very expensive because you don't have those data points, because you aren't able to put like money in the bank instantly. You still have to drive to the bank. You still have to interact in certain ways. You might pay for things before you get to the bank, right? Which limits your borrowing power. And so for us, we're constantly talking about what it means to have a business in a box and to be, comprehensive, and what that looks like for their day to day, and constantly answering the question like how quickly will I get paid? Because of course cash is instant, and I always say digital payments can also be instant, and you don't have to take that trip to the bank to deposit. So even faster, in fact.
Yeah, and Sophie, you bring up a super good point. When we do research on small business, one of the biggest needs that come out is time management. And you think about the time and the cost of driving to the bank, getting that money in, as well as safety issues, just in terms of who's going to make that deposit, and things like, and keeping them safe, making the deposit. So thank you. I mean, I think you brought up a number of like super important points there. And I think, to me, this is all about conversation. That's why we have these webinars, because sometimes people have a view of something that may not be the correct view because they don't have all the information. And that's why getting such great experts on the phone so people can hear from you, I think there's a comfort level there. So Kelsey, one of the things that we hear a lot about, and I brought up in the beginning, is kind of access to capital and cash flow management. And I know that these are two areas that Hello Alice has done an amazing amount of work on, whether it be through the grant programs, through their card. There's just so many great things you all are offering. But perhaps you can share with us a little bit about some of the other kind of tools and resources that small businesses can access, because for me, it's all about education and knowledge. And you all provide that in spades. So would love to get, some of your thoughts around that for our audience and kind of how they can follow up on that.
Yeah, what's really funny, Ginger, a lot of people hear about us because of the access tool. So we have grants, we have credit card, we have loans. But whenever I'm talking to a small business, I always tell them the first important step is make sure your business can generate money, because we can teach you how to raise money or how to go find funding. But if you can't generate revenue and you can't sustain that, and you're not paying attention to, your operating profit and how much it costs you to deliver what you do, that funding is just going to dry up anyway. And so one of the things we like to point them to is go find a mentor or go get into a peer group where you can talk to other entrepreneurs that have either been there or are there, and they can kind of help you sidestep some of the mistakes that we all would make if we didn't have someone sort of guiding our hand. And then really paying attention to, I'm glad you mentioned the E-Myth, because I think a lot of times you will have people who get into a business and they're very good at what they do, but they don't know all the ins and outs of running a business around what they do. And so being able to wrap all of those processes or figure out how to automate it as much as possible are things that we tell them about when it comes to finding the resources they need to not only start a business, but to stay in business and be successful.
No, that's great. And you all do such an amazing job. And I encourage everyone to take a look at the Digital Doors site, take a look at what Kelsey's doing at Hello Alice, and take a look at Good Find and Square, because we choose these people to be our partners for a reason, and is because they are as passionate about this space as we are. So thanks, Kelsey. So Martine, I have another question for you. So when we think about Square, we've been talking a lot about tap on phone and acceptance, but I'd love to get your perspective. Maybe you give us a little hint into what you're seeing ahead for small businesses in the whole payment space. Is there any kind of, hints and clues that you could give us in terms of what you're seeing and things that our audience should be thinking about today, even if it's not there today, but things they should be thinking about to continue to be able to receive the money they have earned in a very hard way? Would love to get your perspective.
Yeah, great question. Thank you. And just plus one to everything everyone else was saying, especially to the piece about cash, right? And we think, yeah, you have cash on hand. It's great. It's instant. But now, normally you're going to deposit that into an account and then pay with either your checking or debit card, and just that process of doing that. So, digital payments definitely makes that transition much easier. And to your point about safety as well, right? When you take those digital payments, that money is transferred into an account, so it's safe and not touchable. But as far as trends, what we're really seeing is really this switch towards tap payments. I mean, they've been on the rise for some time now, and tap has been available for some time, as well as chip, but it's really just exploded these past couple of years. We've really seen just wide scale adoption of tap to pay, or on both Android, or tap on phone on both Android and iPhone, just all across the board there, just because it is so easy to get started. And it's just viewed as a practical addition, and in some cases even alternative to your standard point of sale hardware that'll sit on a counter, and just a more streamlined way to accept payments. Something you don't have to worry about charging. I mean, again, who doesn't have their phone charged at all times, or a charger easily available, or no additional hardware required, right? So that's really what we're seeing, is just the adoption of that because of the ease of use. No need to connect to Bluetooth or wait for hardware, right? Can accept transactions. I mean, instantly, basically, is what folks are seeing. Just really just being able to set up additional employees quicker, faster checkout, and again, to that point of location freedom, just being able to take those payments anywhere at any time are really just the things we're seeing as far as trends for tap on phone and just digital payments in general.
Yep. No, that's great. Thank you. And maybe, Sophia, maybe taking that question over to you. I guess I have two parts to this question. One is, we know that you work with, kind of mobile businesses. People think of food trucks, people think of farmers market. What are some types of businesses that you view as more mobile that people might not think of as being mobile? So I guess that's like question number one. And then question number two, any trends you're seeing, particularly in the point of sale arena, because you are so embedded in it and thinking ahead for what your business can provide them. So maybe if you could touch on those two things.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Anything can be mobile, right? What I'm really seeing is that entrepreneurs that are just starting out, especially diverse entrepreneurs with more limited access to capital, are starting mobile first. You could be an artist. You can, make T-shirts. Food trucks is one of our primary audiences. So definitely mobile food, but you can do, mobile bakeries and coffees and farmers markets. And it honestly runs the gamut. It's really more about like getting your start as an entrepreneur, kind of figuring out what works before you take that next step, perhaps into brick and mortar or perhaps into more mobile units. And so anything can be mobile. And what I'm seeing is that more people are starting mobile, which I think is smart because it also has lower risk. And as a privacy lawyer, I love love anything that is like low risk and secure and private and all those types of things. And so, yeah, that's what I'm seeing. As far as mobile payments, I don't think you'll hear anything differently, across the board. Like this is, the pandemic was a moment. It was a catalyst. It was something where really it was already kind of ramping up, where consumers were favoring convenience and cards and all of these types of payment choices. I certainly haven't had cash for quite some time, but I do think that you were in a moment, and now that trend is here and it's here to stay. And so tap and chip and tap on phone, all of these things, that is the trend, and it'll continue to be the trend. And so being able to offer those types of solutions because it meets customer expectations is just critical for anyone in this space. That's a choice for any type of business.
That's super strong and really important advice. So we have time. I'm going to give you one more fun stat from the Hello Alice report, and then I'm going to end with a question to Kelsey, and then we're going to open it up for questions. So another very optimistic stat, although we know that hiring has been tough, what's really important is that in line with overall optimism, twice as many small businesses are looking to hire in 2023, about 52%, than were actively hiring in 2022. I mean, which was at 26%. So that's double in a year. And I think everyone should feel that the reason that's happening is because we're seeing new business formation. We're seeing business growth. And I think no matter who it is, amongst our panelists in their businesses, they're probably seeing that as well. But Kelsey, we have time for one more quick question, and not to end on a downer, but what is one thing that you want to make sure small businesses don't lose sight of to protect their business and themselves? So for me, it's cybersecurity. We know that a lot of cyber attacks are happening on small businesses today. Would love to kind of, what's that one or two things you want to make sure every morning they think of when they wake up?
I usually would talk about cybersecurity, but we talk about that one a lot. I actually think the one thing I would tell them not to lose sight of is and kind of building on the trends that we talked about, is the acceleration of the adoption of technology by consumers. And I talk a lot about the experience economy and how people have been driven to premium experiences or better experiences. And I think it's really important for small business owners to understand the consumer and how fast technology is being adopted. And so if you look at how fast consumers did mobile wallets and tap to pay and things that are really convenient for them, as a business, you have to see that and understand that if you don't have those options, you may be limiting your ability to serve part of your base. And so it's really critical to look at the marketplace, or even look at your own life. All of us are also consumers, right? Like we go out and we buy things and look at how we like to shop and how we like to purchase, and think about how that can be applied to our business so that we don't fall behind in that area.
No, that's great. I mean, to me, it's pretty simple. Meet your consumer where they want to be met, whether it's digitally, whether it's in store, out of store. It's critically important that to maintain the fact that consumers want to shop with you. They want to shop with small business. So with that, I want to give my profound thanks to this amazing group of experts, Sophia, Kelsey, Martine, Akshay, Colleen, all of the teams that really worked hard to put this together. And now what I'm going to do is turn it over to Colleen. I think we're going to field some questions.
Thank you. What a great discussion. Thanks, guys. So we have a lot coming in. I'm trying to sort through what are the most popular, but I do want to start with Martine. You have a big fan out there. Ava Wilson from O'Neill's Consulting and Training says she loves Square. She uses Square for everything. Now she wants to know how she accesses tap on phone. So maybe this is for Martine or Akshay, but is there a simple way to direct her on how to access this channel?
Yeah, no, great. And thank you for being a fan. And thank you for using Square. Appreciate that. Yeah, Tap on Phone is available on both Android and iPhone, right within the Square point of sale. So if you already have it downloaded, you can go in. There's usually when you go to checkout, it'll give you an option there. And it's really just tapping on there to enable it. Sign in with your Apple or Google Play ID and enable it. There's no additional cost, nothing else you have to download. You just have to enable it.
Easy peasy. Excellent. Yeah. And when we send the follow-up email to everyone, we'll include some links. You'll see Akshay's presentation and slides and a recording. So all of this, I've also put in the chat every speaker's organization's web address, so you can get more information on Good Find or Square or Hello Alice, as well as Digital Doors and our MasterCard small business community. And any of the panelists can address this next one. Paul is asking, how should I be thinking about the costs that I am paying for digital payments? And again, I think we made a good argument. Sophie made a good argument about the trade-offs in terms of cash versus not. But when you're doing the research on providers, how should we think about the costs we're paying for these payments? Ginger, I see you nodding your head.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking this would be a great question for Martine, but I just want to double click on what you said, that there is a trade-off. If you take a check and that check bounces, there's a fee for that. If you take cash, it has to be deposited. You don't have access to that money right away. So I think that's one of the trade-offs. But Martine, maybe you can talk a little bit about kind of researching the costs and some of your perspective there.
Absolutely, happy to. And great question, Paul, I believe. Yeah, that's a great question. And yeah, definitely doing your research in the different providers. I know with Square, we make that very transparent. We have, I think you can go to our website /pricing. All of our pricing is there. And in a lot of my trainings, I do work with a lot of micro businesses, a lot of businesses that are cash only and are looking to transition to credit card payments. And really, it's just all about education and knowing what that cost is going to be on your average order size, right? Knowing, okay, if my average order size is $25, what is, and knowing what percentage I'm going to pay, what does that average out to? Is that going to leave me at no profit or still some profit? Do I maybe need to raise my price a little bit to work on that, right? That lets you make that decision. And for me, and even my family now, because of the work that I do, support, small local businesses as much as we can, but I very rarely do carry cash. So, if I walk up to your business and let's say maybe I have $10 cash on me, and you don't take credit cards, then that $10 is really all you can get from me, right? But if you take credit card payments, right, that order might be $25, $40, $50, right? And thinking in terms of, okay, now, I got a $10 sale, but really you should be thinking of as I lost a $50 sale because I couldn't accept that payment. But, also knowing that there is that that small percentage fee that goes with taking that. So we see that with businesses, and when we talk to them after they've adopted, digital payments, we hear that from them. My average order size has gone up because now, there's no restriction there, right? People are using their card for everything, so it doesn't matter what the cost is. I'm not limited to just what they have in their pocket.
That's a great answer, Martine. Thank you.
And Sophie, you touched on the fact that you pitched this to your members, right, earlier about issues with tracking on cash and just, keeping track. And Good Find has a great platform beyond just the point of sale, right? You're helping them to keep track of their sales and keep their books and the like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think fees is one thing, and we're definitely transparent about our fees as well, but it's also about comprehensiveness of a system so that you can understand what decisions to make when, so you can pivot and be agile, right? Like selling a $15 burger at X event when your gas prices have increased and the cost of eggs, which I never thought about the cost of eggs so much as I have in 2023,
Yes.
right? But when those prices, kind of increase, you need the data to be able to be flexible and understand, like, hey, my costs have gone up. This is what my data is saying. I need to adjust my price by $2, et cetera, in order to be able to still, make out or to come ahead. So there's a fee transparency piece, but then there's also this piece of just being knowledgeable on all scales of your business so that you can make comprehensive decisions that allow you to make money and pivot quickly. And that's what our system looks to do.
Fantastic. Thank you. Kelsey, we had a question about Hello Alice and how to join. And is there a fee to join?
There is no fee to join. You can visit our website at helloalice.com. And once you click sign up, you'll go through a simple onboarding process, and even it allows you to go through our health score assessment, which kind of gives you a baseline assessment of where you stand as a business.
Oh yeah, we're super excited about that health score. That's great. So we have tried, everyone, to really break this down and make it as non-wonky as possible, even though we are all payments people. But I'm seeing a question from Kelly that says we didn't do it quite as well as we could have. She's asking, how do I know if my phone can work for tap on phone? What's an NFC enabled phone? Akshay, maybe, or Martine, do you guys want to take this?
Yeah, so I think there's NFC enabled phones. It's usually smartphones. I think it's iPhone 8 or above, and then certain eligible Android phones. So again, we can share that. The details are in our website, but yeah.
And a follow-on question was, do we know what types of consumers or for what types of purchases Tap on Phone is being used the most? Do we have a sense of?
Yeah, on the consumer side, right? I think increasingly more and more consumers, as we heard in the panel today, are using contactless payments. As we heard, over 50% of consumers now use contactless. We've seen exponential growth in the past few years on people tapping, and they just expect this as table stakes. So I think, from a consumer perspective, they're using it on their plastic cards, they're using it on their mobile wallets, wearables, and really enjoy the tapping experience. From a business perspective, I think, you can think about this in terms of starting to accept payments, but also other use cases like reducing your lines, offering curbside checkout, new experiences like that through Tap on Phone, which is really powerful.
I would add the pandemic really drove that too. Like,
Sure.
People just wanted to have it.
And that's why when we talk about contactless, right, that's so important because for safety reasons, right, people wanted to keep their distance a little bit. Yeah.
Fully. It's definitely a cleaner, more hygienic way to pay.
Fantastic. While I don't see any more questions from our audience, I really want to thank Ginger for leading the conversation and each of you for showing up in this really interesting panel tonight. Ginger, do you want to close with anything else before we?
Yeah, I want to say that all of you out there should know that there are so many amazing people and organizations that have your back. Our job at MasterCard with our partners is to bring the best of the resources to you because we know that they're not always available to you. Through our webinars like this that Colleen does such an amazing job arranging and creating, through Digital Doors with all of the resources, support, and guidance. This is what kind of our world is all about. And the best part of our day is if any of you walk away with one or two things that make your business bigger, better, and easier, we have solved our view of many of the world's problems because you are very important to the economy of the United States, and don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. So with that, I want to thank everyone for attending. My panelists, Sophia, Kelsey, Martine, Akshay, phenomenal opportunity to share views. But thank you so much, and everyone have a really great evening.
Thank you.
everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Many, many years ago, we didn't have the time to take things slow. Running round in stupid circles, and we didn't know where we could go. We were young, we were not afraid to cross the borders. Yeah, we were young and dumb. Whenever we feel down and out, whenever we are filled with doubt, together we will work things out. In those times when you're down and out. Many, many years ago, we traveled many nights along the road. We took our turns and made our way through dark and dusty mountains made of coal. We were young, we were not afraid to cross the borders. We were young and dumb. Whenever we feel down and out, whenever we are filled with doubt, together we will work things out. In those times when you're down and out. All the crazy time I spent has led me to a crossroad. Now I know that I was lost and I was wrong. Now I have finally found the right way home. We were young.